The Pittsburgh Steelers could look to sign another recently released wide receiver. Brandon Cooks was released by the New Orleans Saints on Wednesday, and if he clears waivers, he will have the option to choose where he goes. Cooks was the veteran receiver of the group in New Orleans, who now only has Chris Olave out of their original trio. They traded Rashid Shaheed at the trade deadline to the Seattle Seahawks for 2 picks, but could not move Cooks. Now, Cooks could latch on with another team. The Steelers have searched for wide receiver help and tried to do so at the trade deadline, but could not find the right fit for them. As a result, they signed Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who has still not played a game, but could be elevated from the practice squad. Cooks has played in 10 games this season and is on track for the least productive season of his entire career. He has just 19 catches for 165 yards, which follows a similar trend of his performance going downhill. A year ago with the Dallas Cowboys, Cooks played in just 10 games with 26 receptions for 259 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Steelers have struggled to find a downfield passing attack, but the days of Cooks fitting into that mold seem to be far behind him. Pittsburgh Steelers tight end Darnell Washington has graciously provided it. The gargantuan T is listed this season at 6'7", 264 pounds. But pretty much no one in football thought that Washington weighed only 264 pounds. He looks like another left tackle out there, although he runs remarkably well for a giant of a man. Thankfully, we don't have to speculate anymore. We've got the answer straight from the man himself. What does Darnell Washington weigh? Washington shared on Wednesday that he weighs 311 pounds. Yep, only 47 pounds more than his listed weight. He joined the St. Brown podcast and revealed this truth. "I ain't finna cap to y'all," Washington began, acknowledging he was about to tell the truth. "I ain't weigh myself in a minute. Okay, I'm gonna give it a buck. I'm 311. Lions wideout Amon-Ra St. Brown compared that to when Detroit passed the ball to its star right tackle, Penei Sewell. There's definitely no one else in the NFL like Washington. He's having his best season, currently with 18 catches for 209 yards and a touchdown as part of a crowded tea room in Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers definitely likes him, talking him up at every opportunity. And from now on, we know just how large the Steelers' massive tight end really is. The Chicago Bears are still in wait-and-see mode with star cornerback Jaylon Johnson after their final practice for Week 12 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Johnson, who remains on injured reserve, returned to full participation in practice on November 20th for the first time since he underwent core muscle surgery in September. When asked the next day whether Johnson would suit up against the Steelers, though, Bears coach Ben Johnson addressed the situation with ambiguity and a slight grin. "I don't know, we'll see," Johnson said before November 21's practice. Short week could delay Jaylon Johnson's return. Johnson returned to practice last week and earned a questionable designation on the team's injury report for Week 11's matchup with the Minnesota Vikings, but the Bears downgraded him to out before game day, an unsurprising move given the two-time Pro Bowler has logged only a handful of practices since the start of training camp in July. The Bears gave Johnson the same treatment on Week 12's injury report, listing him as questionable against the Steelers after he fully participated in Friday's walkthrough. Even still, the Bears have a short week looming with a Black Friday matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles next week, which could tempt them to hold off on Johnson's return. "Like I said all along, we're going to be really smart with all these guys that are out there," Johnson said Friday about the short week. "Fortunately for us, it's a 5-day span. Most teams have to deal with a 4-day span, so we're fortunate in that regard. We're conscious of it. We've been very smart this week. We've scaled back the volume a little bit just with that in mind out on the practice field, while still getting the work in." Jaylon Johnson getting competitive reps in practice. The Bears will have plenty of time left to activate Johnson back to the 53-man roster if they leave him on IR for Week 12's matchup with the Steelers. He is just 7 days into his 21-day activation window, meaning the Bears won't face a hard deadline with him until just before Week 14's matchup with the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. That said, Johnson has also been handling competitive reps in practice this week, a potential sign that the Bears won't need to wait the full 21 days to return their star. "He's getting a lot of competitive reps over the course of this week," Johnson said. "I notice a sticky player. He's all over our receivers, whether he's taking defensive team reps or show team reps. He's getting a little bit of both, just making sure we're getting that volume to where it needs to be. It's good versus good a lot of times, and yet he's able to stay pretty close and pretty tight. Good change of direction. He's been able to open it up and some long speed as well. Those are the things I'm looking out right now. The Bears 7-3 kick off against the Steelers 6-4 at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, November 23rd. Things just got really interesting between the San Francisco 49ers and wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. Aiyuk has been on the shelf the entire season after suffering a torn ACL last year. The expectation was he would be back at some point this season, but he has not even so much as been designated to return from the PUP list yet. Now, The Athletic's Diana Rossini and Mike Silver are reporting that Aiyuk and the Niners are heading for a divorce in 2026, and Aiyuk may have played his last game with the team. The report adds that Aiyuk has frustrated the 49ers by not attending team meetings and activities in recent months. As a result, San Francisco has voided Aiyuk's guarantees in his $120 million contract. In the wake of that report, Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox listed off a handful of teams that would be dream landing spots for Aiyuk, and he named the Pittsburgh Steelers as one of them. While the Steelers added DK Metcalf this offseason, they also parted with George Pickens. This means that Pittsburgh still has a desperate need for receiver depth behind its top option. Now, the Steelers have some uncertainty at quarterback. Aaron Rodgers has mostly played well this season but will turn 42 in December. Pairing Aiyuk with Metcalf would help whoever the Steelers put behind center in 2026 and beyond. The issue at wide receiver Knox mentions has stretched back to the 2024 offseason, when the team was looking for someone to pair with George Pickens. Amid their search that year, the Steelers tried to trade for Aiyuk before he signed his long-term deal with the Niners, Silver and Rossini revealed in their report. Pittsburgh's offer included second- and third-round picks before San Francisco, and Aiyuk finally agreed to an extension that is now proving disastrous. Despite all the issues he's had in San Francisco in recent years, it's fair to believe the Steelers will still have interest in Aiyuk, although that will depend upon his health and how much he ultimately costs. After all this, the price for Aiyuk should be cheap, as no team is going to be willing to dish out big bucks under the circumstances. If that turns out to be the case, the Steelers would be wise to take a flyer on a two-time 1,000-yard wide receiver who would serve as a great complement to DK Metcalf.